I'm at this stage now where it's a bit like deja vu. I'm rebuilding the benches or building the benches for van number 3. Now, in my last build, I did 2-stage build on the benches, and what I thought would be beneficial for you guys is just to see the way the bench is actually put together, constructed together, and then finished off with a really great silver trim on the edge when it's all screwed in, when it's painted, just to protect the edges when you're getting in and out of the van. So let's break down the bench itself and let's show you each component to make sure that if you want to copy this design, you know exactly what you're doing. So the framework is pretty much self-explanatory. You basically make rectangle shapes, one for the side, one for the other side, and one for the front, and then you drill and screw them in to the floor as well as to each other. What I also do is that I brace these with a 2B 1.5 across the corners, and the reason I do that is because that's when the next framework will sit inside this framework to form the actual seat bench. I've also used bed slats, which I've cut down, and then I've drilled and screwed to the edges on here and at the back here. And the reason I've done this is because it keeps it all nice and tidy. It actually does then cover up your framework, which is great. And what it also does is it keeps it in line with the actual bench itself when you put your foam on and your seat cushions on. So this is the framework, 3 rectangles if you like. Make sure you use a square to make sure that everything is square inside the framework as well as outside of the framework, to make sure that when you then build the covers for the benches, everything fits together nicely. The second stage is to make the panels themselves, and they're just made out of 5mm ply and then also a 5mm batten, which I formed and shaped a framework. Now, I've not rubbed this down at the moment, so it will be rubbed down, it will be primered, and then it will be sprayed. But what I wanted to show you is the way I actually fix the battens to the actual ply itself, and that is actually with rad nails through the back side of the ply, and it's also fixed with glue as well, so you get a nice tidy fixation to the actual ply board. I'm not too worried about any imperfections within the ply itself, because as you may know if you've seen my last video, I actually put perspex within the actual recesses of the actual panel itself. That will fit underneath here, and I've actually made sure that these fit flush to the framework itself, because then when I put on the front panel, it will actually fit and butt up nicely to the corner edge. As I mentioned, you need to make sure that you completely butt up the edges here before you then drill and screw into the frame itself and then into the panel to get a good fixation. But before I do that, I need to rub obviously down the panels and paint them. Now, the other part and the most important part of the bench is obviously the bed slats. Now, the way I build the bench is quite simple, with a framework underneath which slots into the inside of the framework and then rests on these corner pieces that I've put inside. Now, what I've also done is, as you can see, I've butted up and made sure that when this is actually sitting on top, it is in line with the panel itself as well on the front. So just be aware of that when you're putting the bed slats on, to make sure that everything is in line, the screws are in line. These are actually countersunk, and they are also fixed with glue, wood glue, as well as a screw. So I've done that across the framework, and as you can see, all then the weight itself is actually on the bed slats and then spreading across the framework as well as in the corner joists. So this can actually hold a really good amount of weight, and I'm not worried about it whatsoever. So you can build your bench with smaller framework, providing you make a good framework on the outside with the panels and you brace it in the corners itself as well. Whilst you're building your benches, I just wanted to show you an area over here where my leisure battery is going to be put. And here, before I do anything else and I put the front panels onto the actual benches itself, I just wanted to show you that within the actual bench, I put a small bead around the inside, and then I cut out another 5mm ply board, which then fits neatly into this area here. Now the reason why I've done this is because I need to mount onto this panel my kill switch, which will go here, which switches all my electricity on and off. And it's a good idea to have one of these, especially when you take it in for MOT. You can do the kill switch, and then no one's going to be messing about with any of your lights within the van itself. So I'm going to have a kill switch just here, and then a little bit of an overkill. I had one kicking around, was a spare fuse box. Now this fuse box, you could buy a smaller one if you wanted. I've got quite a few outlets here. I've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 outlets. Realistically, I'm probably only going to be using 4 of those, but that's going to be mounted on here. So here we've got the fuse box, we've got the kill switch, obviously I've got the cable to connect to the battery, your live cable, and then you have your earth cables, one which is connected to the body of the vehicle, and then the other one which is connected to the fuse box.